Before we jump into some examples, let's make sure we all remember what a proportion is. Remember I said this whenever we were going over our bell work. A proportion is an equation that states that two ratios are equal. So, a proportion, we have two ratios and tells me they're equal, and I've shown you two methods that we can use to solve them. I also mentioned that we're probably only going to use the cross product method. The other method, it's a lot easier, but it's not applicable most of the time. There is one cross product example in your notes already for you, and if you notice there in the italicized writing, it says, to solve a proportion, set the cross products equal to each other, and solve for the variables. So in this proportion, I have x over 12 equals 4 over 8. So if I set my cross products equal to each other, I can take 8 times x, which gives me that 8x. I take 12 times 4, which is 48. When I set those equal to each other, I get 8x equals 48, which I can then go ahead and solve for x, and I get x equals 6. Okay, I have 6 examples for you, so go ahead and split your paper into 6 boxes. Okay, so 6 boxes. We'll start out with a really simple one and work our way up from there. Okay, first one, kind of like the one that we put in your toolkit. I have y over 3 equals 5 over 8. Okay, so if I look at my cross products, I'm going to multiply up and across. So 3 times 5 gives me 15. 8 times y gives me 8y. When I set those equal to each other, how would you solve for y? You would divide by 8. Once again, we can go ahead and leave this as an improper fraction. You do not need to change it to a mixed number. So your answer would be 15 over 8. Okay, let's look at 3 over 4y equals 5 over 7. Okay, so once again, we're going to multiply up and across. So 4y times 5, what does that give me? 20y, very good. 3 times 7 gives me 21. Now that you have your cross products, set them equal to each other and solve for y. How would you solve for y? Divide by 20. So y equals 21 over 20. Now, I don't want to change this into a mixed number, but let's say you end up with 8 over 6. I'm not going to change it to a mixed number, but can we simplify this? Yes, you could divide a 2 out of both of those numbers, so you would want to go ahead and simplify it down to 4 over 3, but you do not have to change it to the mixed number. Okay, so we see the difference between the simplifying that I'm talking about. Yes. Okay, so those ones are pretty easy. There's some that you have to be really careful with. If I have t minus 4 over 5 equals 2/3. This time whenever you multiply your cross products, okay, well the first one, 5 times 2, not too bad, that's just a 10. But when I multiply my other cross product, I need to take 3 times the quantity t minus 4. I'm taking 3 times that entire numerator. So you have to be really careful and make sure that you're using parentheses. It will totally change your answer if you forget those parentheses. Because now that I have those parentheses, what do you think I need to do? Right, I have to distribute that 3. So 10 equals 3t minus 12. How would you solve for t? Add 12 to both sides. So 3t equals 22. And finally, divide by 3. So t equals 22 over 3. So not too bad. You just have to be really careful make sure that you're distributing that number to everything inside those set of parentheses. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys one. Try on your own. I want you guys to try 3 equals 2 plus 4y over 6. Okay, well, before you guys start this one, all of the other ones, I had 2 ratios. I had a ratio equal to another ratio, and a ratio is a fraction. Okay, but I don't have a fraction on the left-hand side. But can I make it into a fraction? Yeah. Yes, what would you do? Put it over 1. So take a minute, work that one out on your own. Okay, whenever you find your cross products, what do you end up whenever you take 1 times 2 plus 4y?
2 plus 4y.
2 plus 4y, right? 1 times anything is itself. 3 times 6 gives you 18. What did you do next? Subtract 2 from both sides, so 4y equals 16, so y equals 4. Okay, so not too bad so far. Okay, let's look at 2 more that are just slightly different. I have full faith in you guys, though. Let's do 4b plus 6 over 6 equals 4b plus 8 over 8. Okay, so this time you have to be super careful twice because I have quantities in both of my numerators. So when I look at my cross products, I have to be really careful that I'm taking 6 times the quantity, 4b plus 8, and I'm going to set it equal to 8 times the quantity, 4b plus 6. Okay, so you have to be really, really careful with those parentheses. Okay, so now I have 2 things that I have to distribute. So if I distribute the 6 on the left-hand side, I end up with 24b plus 48. And on the right-hand side, when I distribute the 8, I get 32b plus 48. Okay, let's think back to a couple chapters ago. I have variables on both sides of the equal sign. If you have variables on both sides of the equal sign, what do we have to do? Right, we've got to get them all on one side. How did we decide which side to move them to? Right, we want to subtract the smaller one. So I'm going to subtract 24b from both sides. Okay, so on the left-hand side, I get 48. Right-hand side, what is 32b minus 24b? 8b plus 48. Okay, what would you do next? Right, subtract 48. Okay, well, 48 minus 48 gives me 0. And what would you do lastly to solve for b? Divide by 8. Okay, well, what is 0 divided by 8? 0. So b equals 0. Okay, and last one. I'm going to let you guys work this one out and see what you can come up with. Okay, I want you guys to give this one a try. 6b minus 5 over 3 equals 12b minus 10 over 6. All right, I think most people were coming to mostly the correct conclusion. Whenever you multiplied your cross products, what did you end up with? Okay, so we ended up with 36b minus 30 equals 36b minus 30. Okay, starting to look a little fishy. I have variables on both sides. The equal sign, so if I subtract 36b from both sides, what happens? You end up with negative 30 equals negative 30. What does that tell you? It's all real numbers. You can plug any number in the entire world into that proportion, and it's going to work.